assaulting the narrative, destroying their lives, unearthing the truth. I want the truth! This is The Truth with John Gordon.
The Biden White House is firing missiles into the heartland of Russia. Welcome to this Saturday's edition of The Truth. This is the most irresponsible act I've ever seen. The Ukraine is firing missiles into the heartland of Russia. And what do you suppose Vladimir Putin's response would be? He's sending ICBMs, the most powerful weapons just this side of nuclear, back into the Ukraine. It's just jumped 2 more rungs up the escalation ladder as Biden inches us closer and closer to World War III. Can we hold on for another 2 months, just 60 more days, without Biden finishing the job that he started of destroying this country and taking the world down with him? These are serious acts of provocation. And I don't think it's Biden. I think he's clueless. I don't know who is running the show, but it's not Biden. But whoever it is, and it's not Harris. She's vacationing in Hawaii right now. Obviously, Disney World wasn't in the cards because she didn't win. So we just need Trump. We need him fast. Well, the deep state won. They got another notch in their belt. Matt Gaetz is out for Attorney General. That's a big disappointment to me. That's after he resigned from Congress and the swamp just got him. So the same people who literally and secretively paid out millions to cover up for their own sexual alleged misconduct now use the same weapon to go after Gaetz. He denies it. The House Investigations Committee, House Ethics Committee investigated it. They looked at it. They decided that no charges were appropriate. Yet now they're bringing it out, dusting it off, loading their guns, pointing them straight at Gaetz. And just after spending a day on Capitol Hill touring the Senate, meeting with Republican senators who would determine the fate of his nomination, he was accompanied by Vice President J.D. Vance. But even Donald J. Trump couldn't save him. And the swamp can't entertain someone that is going to expose them, prosecute, and punish them, punish all the lawbreakers, expose all the dirt. Right now, the Trump team is pondering a replacement. I hope they come up with somebody good. I was really excited about Matt Gaetz. He's a warrior. He doesn't hold back. He's fearless. He's not afraid to tell the truth. And he's not afraid to vote his conscience. He did not make a whole lot of friends when he led the ousting of Kevin McCarthy. I was cheering him every step of the way. But there was that one famous clip that Gaetz and McCarthy almost came to fisticuffs on the House floor. I mean, it got really tense, very heated. And Gaetz just burned a lot of bridges. And I'm not criticizing him for it. I think he absolutely was doing the right thing. McCarthy promised when he became elected speaker or when he was campaigning to be speaker that he would not pass any more continuing resolutions. And it was less than a month into his term as speaker. And what do? They pass a continuing resolution. And Matt Gaetz said, our memories aren't that short. We're not down with that. But maybe Trump will pick someone from outside the Beltway to go clean house and expose the corruption. Ken Paxton comes to mind. Jeff Landry comes to mind. Chris Carr comes to mind. Oh, wait a minute. Did I say Chris Carr? Chris do nothing? Carr? Nah, it ain't going to happen. But Ken Paxton, Jeff Landry, they're legit candidates. They're both being circulated as possible replacements to Christopher Wray. Boy, can I not wait to see that guy go. He came in with such promise, and just within a matter of months, he got co-opted by the swamp, and he became a swamp creature himself. Maybe he had us fooled. Maybe he was from the outset. But regardless, I think he's going to be under the microscope himself, along with Mayorkas. That would be a happy day, in my view, if Mayorkas could pay for his sins. I mean, he just sat there, and you could tell by his body English and his words and his inflection, he was just lying the whole time that he was before Congress. Oh, the border's secure. We can't do any more than we're doing because we lack congressional authority. We need more money. We're short-staffed. Just one lie after another. And let me ask you, Secretary Mayorkas, why was Donald Trump, with the same authority, the same border patrol, the same everything, able to slow the influx of illegals into this country to a trickle? Oh, I know you call them undocumented. No, they're not undocumented. They're illegal. You miserable creep. I really don't like him. I don't like people who lie. I loathe people who lie. And he is a serial liar who should have been impeached, but the Senate lacked the will to do it. And not one Democrat would rise, stand, and be counted for impeaching Alexander Mayorkas. Well, we'll be rid of him soon enough. But I hope he stays in the spotlight. I hope he stays on the front page of the Washington Post and the New York Times, and I hope that we indict him for perjury at a minimum, lying to Congress. How about violating his oath of office? I mean, this crew that Biden put in, they're just about as bad as they come, in my view. You just take the whole lot of them, and they're just not good people. You know, the problem is, this is my paradigm. You can call me at 804-778-8888 and let me know what you think. Or you can leave a comment on the live stream. Speaking of the live stream, Getter, Rumble, YouTube Live, that's where you can find us. John Gordon Truth. If you'll just go there and hit the subscribe button, you could subscribe on all three and it wouldn't take you a minute. We're standing right now just shy of 500 subscribers on YouTube. We've got to get to 1,000. If just 10% of the people listening to us on Getter right now would hit the subscribe button and then maybe go over to YouTube and hit the subscribe button, we could get to the magical 1,000 number. All right, I digress. It's time for a cleansing, a house. I don't want revenge. I want accountability. I want to use the same laws that they used illegitimately. I want to use them legitimately to go after their sorry asses. The deep state better be on the run because we are coming after you. You're not nice people. We don't like you. But more significantly, you have undermined the foundational support of our democracy. You weaponized the Department of Justice. You went after your political enemies. You tried to lock them up, and when that didn't work, somebody tried to kill them. I think we've got a pretty good idea who it was. But it's going to come out, and then there's going to be hell to pay. We're going to reclaim this democracy. And for our listeners in Pittsburgh and in Philadelphia, I am so proud of you, and in Atlanta. I am so proud of each of you, all the evangelicals and the Christians, Jews, Muslims. And we're talking to Tim Rivers in just a little bit. He and I talked about the fact that the Amish, for the first time, came out in droves. 200,000 Amish in Pennsylvania alone. In 2020, 3,000 of them voted. This year, 90,000. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you to our Amish friends. They arrived at the polling places in horse-drawn carriages in their normal black attire, and their carriages were adorned with the American flag and a Trump flag. It's a beautiful sight. It was a beautiful sight. And I'm so proud of all the people in Pennsylvania that decided to turn out. You made the difference. You saved our republic. The nation is eternally grateful to each of you who decided to get up off the couch and go vote this year. But I've got news for you. We are not done yet. We cannot. This is why we got into the mess that we were in 2020. We decided that we were good. We got complacent. We rested on our laurels. We are now just over the 50-yard line on saving our republic. We're not even in the red zone yet, because you know why? Because right now, they're cheating in Pennsylvania again. Election fraud is underway as we are recording this broadcast late Thursday afternoon. And the only thing that's changed is that this time the voters are saying, ain't going to happen. Check this out.
We, the people of Bucks County, are fed up. Yes, you're hearing us loud and clear.
These are elected officials who openly and blatantly admitted to disobeying the law. How could we ever have faith in their ability to uphold the law again? The answer is we cannot, and they must resign immediately.
I've got to tell you, standing here today, listening to all these patriots and looking at how many people came out, something's wrong with the way we're conducting the elections in this county.
When I inartfully spoke and used the word precedent when I was talking about provisional ballots, I was referring to the United States Supreme Court and the precedent that has been lost on many issues, including Roe versus Wade.
Do you need to resign today? You need to be fired. We are your boss. You are a bane, a stain on this country. The world is watching.
Compared to all of you, being called garbage doesn't seem to be so bad.
The electorate has awakened, and they are just saying no. You're not going to cheat. Bravo. Hallelujah. Thank you. We have turned the corner, but the fight it's not over. We have to keep fighting. We have to keep fighting to keep men out of women's sports. We have to keep fighting to preserve our franchise and not allow it to be stolen by these worthless bureaucrats in Pennsylvania that are allowing cheating to occur. Where do they get off doing that? They need to go to prison. That's what needs to happen. We need to open up an investigation of 2020 in Georgia and in Pennsylvania, Arizona, get to the bottom of it and start putting people in orange suits and sending them away. Brad, are you listening? Gabe, get your change of address forms ready. 2020 is not over. You're going to have some splaining to do. I hope. But the Georgia legislature, they got it cleaned up. Senate Bill 202 actually did have an impact. No COVID. No unsupervised drop boxes, no millions of absentee ballots flooding out to people that didn't ask for them. So it's better. But these Democrats, they just don't get it. Do you know that Kamala Harris spent $1 billion in the last 90 days of her campaign? $1 billion. Do you know how many homeless people that would have fed? How many people that lack shelter or clothing that would have provided, that would have helped provide for? And so where did the money go? It went to Beyonce and to Oprah. Oprah said she didn't get any money. No, she didn't. She's telling the truth. But her company, Harpo, did. I mean, just the way that they can lie and don't think twice about it. And you know, the American people, they're wising up to it. But the Democrats, they still haven't figured it out. Just like that donkey who fell in the hole and he starts to freak out. And so what he does, he starts to try and dig to get out of the hole. And what does he do? He just keeps digging the hole deeper and deeper until the walls cave in. And that's what's happening to the Democrats right now. Watch this clip. Here they are with Piers Morgan earlier this week.
Look, I debated Professor Lichtman before. I told him his theories about the keys were absurd. I was right. He was wrong. I said he'd lose his keys.
No, you were
Couldn't
not
find
right,
him before
and
the
I was
election.
not wrong, and that's a cheap shot, and I won't stand for it.
Well, who won, brother?
You should not be
who
taking
won?
cheap
who
shots
won?
at me.
Who won?
You want to make your
you
point,
live
make your
in
point.
a total
Don't make it
world of
personal.
denial. You got it wrong.
Say
you were
whatever you want.
preposterously and stupidly wrong. So, okay, all right. Can I just
Don't
finish
call
a thought
stupid
ever on this show?
No, not if you're
Okay.
personally.
Well,
I
you proved
admitted
it.
I was wrong. I don't need you to call me stupid.
Okay.
Can I just say, it's
What kind
great
of
to see
nonsense
you
is that?
Democrats
Yeah, I
all
know.
getting
Who
along
taught
so
you
well.
manners?
It's lovely
You
to
need
see a
one. Can I
post-election.
point.
Hey,
Alex.
Isn't that fun? And the good doctor there, you know, the guy that is saying, you can't attack me, you're just attacking me. No, you're not being attacked, dude. You got it wrong. To his credit, he's called every election correctly since Reagan. And he's got this test of 13 factors that he runs the data through, and he's been remarkably accurate. But this time, I'm thinking he just let his bias get in his way, and the formula didn't work because he probably just couldn't bring himself to face the result that he was staring at. So he got it wrong at best, lied at worst. But rather than owning it, he got defensive and was blaming everyone but himself for his error. And that's what they do. That's what they are doing. Have you heard the Dems, the talking heads that said Trump has no chance of winning? You know, the threat to democracy? Well, they're saying that they just got the narrative wrong, that their talking points were not messaged well. Yeah, I agree. They were not messaged well because they were lies. The border was not secure. Inflation was not transitory. They did not inherit a bad economy from Donald Trump. Donald Trump did not get us into a war in the Ukraine and in the Middle East. He did not withdraw from Afghanistan, worse than the withdrawal from Hanoi 40 years ago. It was an embarrassment, and they leave the most sophisticated military armament known to man for the Taliban and the Chinese and God only knows who else to go grab. And they abandoned Bagram Air Force Base in the process, the most strategic Air Force base in the world, right there on the border of China, Russia, Afghanistan, the hot spot of the world. Biden just walks away from it, leaves it hundreds of millions of dollars and billions of dollars in armament. Can we get rid of them fast enough? 60 more days of this? God help us. But they're turning on each other. They're blaming each other. And they haven't hit the reset button. They're hitting the replay button. Just like the donkey digging his way out of the hole. Good. Keep it up. Hopefully by the time they figure it out, it'll be too late. And people will have moved on and we'll have this country back on track. It just can't happen fast enough for me, and I'm sure you feel the same way. So, Morning Joe and his lovely girl, this was poetic justice. This was sweet for me. They made the pilgrimage to Mar-a-Lago this week to kiss the ring. I mean, these people who have for the last 8 years ridiculed Donald Trump had the nerve to come to Mar-a-Lago to kiss and make up. Trump met with him. Good for him. I mean, keep your friends close and your enemies closer, I guess. I don't know what they hope to achieve other than just look like the desperate people that they are. And so what's happened? What's happened to their already plummeting ratings when they got back to Washington from Mar-a-Lago? The ratings took another dramatic, steep decline, and they just don't get it. So they proved what we all knew, that they are just playing to whatever audience they think they need to play to retain their relevancy, of which they have very little left. So right now, over at Mar-a-Lago, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are hard at work crafting their new governmental department known as DOGE, the Department of Governmental Efficiency. DOGE is a dog, and it's on the face of a cryptocurrency that Musk actually started. And why is it that Kamala Harris was the one who, and the Democrats, and Tim Walz, where is he now anyway? I wouldn't be surprised if he showed up somewhere at a club cross-dressing. I don't know. You don't hear very much from these guys now. That's okay by me. But they campaigned on joy. Why is it seems like everybody who voted for Trump are joyous? So Trump is already hard at work assembling his administration. And have you watched the people that he's put in place? Matt Gaetz was a good example, but so is Elon Musk, who has been targeted by the federal government, by NHTSA, the National Highway Safety Board, by the SEC, and the head of the SEC, wow, what a surprise. He announced that he was going to resign on Inauguration Day. I wonder what prompted him to do that. I wonder if it was because Trump announced the other night that he would be firing him on Inauguration afternoon. Oh, it's his idea. He's gonna resign. I'll bet you nickels to donuts. The other person who resigns is Christopher Wray. Why he hasn't already done it and why he hasn't acknowledged it, he says he's going to finish out his term. I know what that's about. He wants that pension. He wants to cling and hang on until the last minute because he's got some shredding to do. You can hear the shredders all the way from West Palm Beach or to West Palm Beach from Washington, D.C. They're up there getting rid of as much dirt that they've got on themselves as possible. I bet you that the numbers and amount of hard drives that are being cleansed and smashed and Cloroxed, whatever they do to get rid of the data, I bet it makes Hillary Clinton's look like a junior high school prank. It's the only salvation they've got left because they have done some horrible, despicable things. And as soon as we get into office, we're going to start putting people under oath, conducting investigations, and asking them, "Hey, Fonnie, what were you talking about when you went up to the White House and met with Biden's White House counsel? And what was your lover doing up there? He made 2 visits at taxpayer-funded expense. What did he talk to them about? Oh, well, y'all just wait right here because we're going to go next door. And by the way, we got the White House counsel waiting for his interview. We're gonna ask him some pointed questions." Now, just remember, folks, Martha Stewart, she didn't get convicted of insider trading. And Leona Helmsley, she didn't get convicted of tax evasion. They got convicted of perjury. And that's how they operate. And that's how this is going to play out. And Letitia James, I think the law enforcement's going to be calling. And Secretary Mayorkas, I think you're going to get your turn in the barrel. And then we're going to find out. You think Democrats are turning on each other now? Give it another 90 days and let's see what happens. I can't wait. I'm not being petty. I'm not being vengeful. God says vengeance is mine. I respect that. But I am 100% down with accountability. Adam Schiff, you cannot look in the camera and tell the American people that you have incontrovertible evidence that Donald Trump colluded with Russia. Spur a 3-year investigation that led to a fake, phony impeachment of Donald Trump, $40 million, and the Mueller investigation concludes there was no evidence of collusion. I don't think you can do that and get away with it and not have any accountability for what you did. I hope not, because you should be held to a high standard. So should you, Mayorkas. So should you, Director Wray. Oh, Liz Cheney, losing your seat in Congress, being censured by your fellow Republicans in Wyoming, that's just the start. You cannot participate in a fake, illegitimate investigation in the Congress of the United States, otherwise known as the J6 Committee, suppress exculpatory evidence, cherry pick videos, and think you're going to just walk away scot-free. No, ma'am. And have you seen the Democrats turning on Nancy Pelosi? Oh, they're all fighting. They're all fighting like mad hens in the hen house. and they're going after each other. And just wait until the investigators come knocking and they start putting people into interviews, and they're going to start pleading the fifth and claiming executive privilege. But there's one little problem with that. Biden said Trump didn't have any executive privilege. They denied him executive privilege. So now they're going to claim it? I don't think so. But it'll be fun to watch, and it's going to happen, and it's going to happen very soon, I do hope. And this new administration are some of the best of the best. And Trump has picked the very people that these bureaucrats have gone after, like Tulsi Gabbard and like Matt Gaetz and like Elon Musk. And they are going to get it straightened out. They are flat out going to get it straightened out so that we restore the model. We flip it back up and put it on its right side. We need to have the model stood back up on the right side. Right now it's upside down. We are beholden to the government. We have to serve the bureaucrats and the corrupt Department of Justice. And if you think I'm speaking hyperbole, wait until you hear the next segment. Just wait. You're going to find out just how evil and demonic these people are. And Tim Rivers is going to tell us.
The riot that occurred on January 6, 2024 shook the nation to its core, as millions watched in disbelief, as Trump supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C., disrupting the certification of the 2020 presidential election results. Lawmakers were evacuated, and the Capitol building was placed under lockdown as the rioters broke windows, incapacitated officers, and even looted government property. Authorities have since arrested hundreds of individuals involved, but the question remains: how did this happen? President Donald Trump, speaking to his supporters, repeated claims that the 2020 election had been stolen.
Mike Pence is going to have to come through for us, and if he doesn't, that will be a sad day for our country.
His words, combined with his continued assertions of election fraud, incited the crowd, pushing them to breach the Capitol complex.
Because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength, and you have to be strong.
This is what happens when the government tries to suppress the public, steal their freedom. The people of the United States are an unstoppable force of freedom that will not be taken lightly.
It's my pleasure to welcome Tim Rivers back to The Truth. He was with us a few months ago. He has been one of the leading proponents for freeing the J6 political prisoners. Tim, welcome to The Truth.
Thank you, sir. Nice to be back. And, you know, it's amazing how we sometimes keep coming back to meet familiar friends. I kind of feel like sometimes I don't even remember a couple of minutes into a conversation to go, you know, I've been here before.
You were one of the people that early on developed an interest in the J6 fiasco, and particularly what I would term as political prisoners. I doubt you would disagree with that characterization. So tell us how you began the journey, and now that Donald Trump is elected as the next president of the United States, he indicated during the campaign that he would likely pardon the J6 prisoners. But let's start at the beginning, bring us through up to current day real quick. Tell us where we are, and then we can talk about our future now.
Kind of started in February, March. They arrested a gentleman here in my neighborhood in the Tampa Clearwater area by the name of Jeremy Brown. Jeremy Brown's a retired and decorated Green Beret. And if anybody's ever been to a recruiting station and you see the picture of that guy going through the background with the green beanie on his head and the war paint, that's Jeremy Brown. He was actually the poster boy for the Green Beret. The FBI knocked on his door in December, and tried to get him to rat out Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys. And when he refused to do it and videotaped the whole thing and then released the videotape, they targeted him and arrested him. So I got involved with some people who were protesting outside the Pinellas County Jail where he was being held. And they started talking to me about writing to him and writing to other prisoners. I thought that was a pretty novel idea. And right around June or July, I wrote my first letter to a prisoner. And I didn't even know who the guy was. I went to this site that has been put up just for the communications with prisoners of January 6th and conservatives now. Really, we've got the grandmas who've been arrested for abortion protesting and folks like that in there. You can go to this website at patriotmailproject.com, and you can either sort by your last name. You'd be surprised, maybe somebody out there with your last name out of 1,565 indicted American patriots. And you can write to them. We tell you where they are, how to write to them, what the rules of the prison are. And so I wrote this one gentleman. I thought it was pretty unique because Jeremy Brown was a Green Beret. Guess what? The letter comes back, a 4-page letter from this individual, and he's a Green Beret too. A former Ranger, Green Beret, 3 Bronze Stars decorated, 20 years of service in the military, and 10 years of service for Secretary of State, working for 3-letter agencies as a protector. Once I understood what was happening to these people, who they really were versus what the media was telling us, I just needed to know more, and I needed to talk about it. And that's how we got started in all of this. That's how J6 News got started. That's how the books got started. And we continue to this day, just trying to bring their truth to the public.
So how many J6 indictees are there? 1,000 what?
1,565. Donald Trump was 1,260, I believe. And all of them, out of all of those, less than 70 of them have been ever charged with anything violent. And most of those violent charges have been fabricated because the police attacked them. And once they came in contact with them, then the individual that they were beating with the stick is charged with a felony for damaging the nightstick. That's exactly what's happening here. So even those individuals are going to be available for pardon, and they'll just be a little more difficult. The gentleman I just mentioned, Jeffrey McKillop, the gentleman has been in jail 3 years, 8 months, without a trial. I'd like you to digest that. On the basis of an indictment that was doctored up by the Department of Justice, this Green Beret American hero, 3 times decorated Bronze Star, is sitting in a federal institution in Fort Worth, Texas. He's been incarcerated 3 years and 8 months and has never seen a courtroom.
Does he have a lawyer?
He's had 6 lawyers. All of them have tried to get him to plea out. I have probably seen 3 to 4 lawyers that were worth their salt and money. The rest of them have even in some cases colluded with the prosecution in order to preserve their ability to operate in DC. It is lawfare on a scale that I don't think most Americans can comprehend, but it's there and you're going to see it. When Matt gets in control here, the curtain is going to be pulled back like Frank Zappa said, when the cost of maintaining the illusion is too great, they're going to pull back the curtain, turn off the stage lights, move the scenery out of the way, and you're going to see the brick wall at the back of the theater. And that's what we're about to see, I believe, in February.
I so hope you're right. But they are going to go kicking and screaming. Whether Matt Gaetz can get across the line or not, I don't know. But I certainly share your enthusiasm for his nomination. I hope that he wins, and I hope he goes to the Justice Department and kicks ass. The damage that these people have done to the lives of the people that they have targeted. How many people are actually in jail?
I have just under 300. I think the number is 285. And many of them are being held pre-trial, like Jeff McKillop, without due process, without the right to defend themselves.
And what about habeas corpus actions? Does that?
We filed three of them for Jeff, 2 in Texas and 1 in DC, and they all came to naught. Again, once lawfare is engaged, I don't think people really understand how thoroughly the District of Corruption has left the table of justice. And I think you'll see that revealed. I think these judges, these District 3 judges, Article 3 judges, are going to face impeachment for some of the things that they've done. And then at that point, you'll be able to see. But the transcripts are available as public record. If you want to see some of them, go out to our website at J6 Patriot News, read some of the comments and read some of the letters from the prisoners. They talk about their court dates and what's happened in there. There's a pretty big community out here that we've built up over 3 years, both on Telegram, X, Twitter. I mean, it's pretty pervasive. And now we're all very focused, I think, as you can tell, on what comes after January 20th. Where do I stand on February 1 with these prisoners? What happens when I take 285 men and women who have been incarcerated, have no income, have been taken away from their homes, may or may not have family to meet them? What happens when you turn them out on the street with the clothes on their back and just enough money to get to a transportation hub? Where do these lives go from here? The damage is not done. And you may never be able to repair it. The damage to families is, I can't even describe it. I I will just ask you to go to j6patriotnews.com, read some of the letters of these people as they talk about the destruction and the damage to their families, and they lose their wives, they lose their properties, their children turn against them. It's a horror show, and it's all unnecessary. And I think that will be so evidently proved even better than we've done over the past 3 years when justice returns to D.C.
It makes me incredibly sad to imagine that someone who chose to go to the Capitol to protest what they believe to have been a stolen election, which I also happen to believe was a stolen election, and I want to talk about that some more in a moment. But it just makes me really sad, frankly, that this could happen in our country. This is the material that we would expect to see coming out of the Communist Chinese Party or the Republic of Russia, or even worse, Belarus. I mean, this is just not supposed to be possible to even happen in America. What in God's name has this country come to? And where do these, you call them Article 3 judges, where do they come from?
They're appointees, they're presidential appointees, and most of these have been Obama or Clinton appointees. A few of them have been Trump appointees, and I would say they have also not been all that great. Some of them have been okay. The types of over-sentencing, the type of collusion with the prosecution. When you got a prosecutor who's struggling to understand and put something across to the jury, and the judge stops him and lectures him on how to present the evidence to the jury properly, do you think that's even correct? I mean,
well, that's what we call prejudicial.
Yeah, I mean, there is so much going on here. It's very difficult. I mean, if you had 5 hours, I could probably scratch the surface for you. But what I keep telling people is we've become lazy purveyors of information. Really, we have. John, we take one click and we go, that was it. CNN said fair and accurate. I'm good. We don't dig, we don't investigate, we don't question. And that is probably why we have so much distortion of the truth in America today. Because I flip to mainstream media channels just to check them out, and I'm like, which planet are they on? Because it doesn't seem to be the same one I'm on. And so that disparity between the truth and between the media facade that now seems to be very politically motivated, if not completely controlled, has damaged the relationship between Americans to the point where they want us to hate each other and to take arms against each other because you're the victim and I'm the racist, or I'm the oppressor and you're the person who's been denied everything because I succeeded. The diatribes are crazy. They're just nuts. And yet I see it. I think you're going to see it get even nuttier before January 20th.
So January the 20th, Donald J. Trump will be inaugurated the 47th president of the United States. I pray for his safety. I hope that we get to witness his hand on the Bible and to see him sworn in. I do really worry about another assassination attempt because he is not a threat to democracy. He is a threat to bureaucracy. And these people are playing for keeps, and they know that when he gets into office and brings people like Matt Gaetz with him, there's going to be hell to pay. And we're going to pull the curtain back. Is there any accountability for these Article 3 judges? Are they untouchable? I mean, obviously impeachment is an option, but can they be prosecuted for violating the laws that they have sworn an oath to uphold?
I personally think they can. I think if you could prove it, will that happen, I think is the question. I think, to be frank, that there is a split in our community between restoration and retribution. I believe some people have reached a point where they are unwilling to forgive what has happened because it is unconscionable. And the destruction is so vast. Children with PTSD from being drug out of their homes in the dead of night have lasers and pointed guns at them, had their parents drug away in their underwear, the neighbors out there. I mean, dude, go look at the videos on my website, go to my interviews, listen to some of the interviews of these J6ers and the videos as their neighbors videotaped these horror shows as they were taken down as if they were Al-Qaeda. These are the things that I think some people will never be able to forgive, the damage to their lives, to their children, to their families, and they want retribution. They want accountability. They want to see those people exchange places with the J6ers. And I sympathize with that.
I get the point very clearly. I think that this narrative that you are referring to is nothing more than the continuation of a manipulation to get us to fall in line with the narrative. So I don't really care what they call it. When Laken Riley's murderer was convicted, nobody called it retaliation or retribution. They called it a just sentence for a heinous crime. Well, I don't think these Article 3 judges should be let off the hook because somebody calls it retaliation or retribution. It is accountability for violating the oath of the office that they took and desecrating the laws that they swore an oath to uphold. I make no apology, and it has nothing to do with retribution or getting even. It has everything to do with making sure that it never happens again. Not in this country.
The way that happens is that we write it down and we don't forget it. Again, go to my site, j6patriotnews.com. Go to my judges section. I got a whole section on every one of these Article 3 judges, who they are, who they've sentenced, what their backgrounds are, what they've done to J6ers, where they've acted unconstitutionally. It's all there, folks. We have busted our hump to gather this information for the American public, but I guarantee you, you're not going to find my URL floating around on X or Facebook very often. So you can, the way we do this is we're guerrillas out here. We're passing information, basically in little rolled up pieces of paper. j6patriotnews.com. Everything you ever need to know.
So why are you not resorting to Facebook and X and traditional social media?
I'm on there. I'm just shadow banned. We released an incredible movie called J6: A True Timeline that started taking off, and Facebook, marked it as a dangerous movie and then started taking it down the URLs. Well, they do the same thing to ours. I have my Rumble stuff taken down. I have X things, commentated, and, well, you've kind of violated the rules on Facebook this week. This post doesn't. I kind of have given up on Facebook. I'm focusing more on X now. Telegram is our home base. We now do Getter, Truth. I'm on Rumble, YouTube, but our home base is on the web where you can't censor me. j6patriotnews.com.
So on January the 20th, Donald Trump sworn in, 47th President of the United States. Do the J6ers get pardoned?
They do, but don't think that day one the prison bars open and the dragons fly out. That's not how it works.
Why? We all know that it's a farce.
It's just you don't understand the process of, first of all, we want these people to come away with everything that they went in with, okay? Their Second Amendment right, their First Amendment right, their right to free travel, all these things that have been stolen from them, we want them back. So we have to do this process that's complete. For those who have not gone to trial, open the doors and let them out. Those folks on day one should be released. They've not been convicted. He can stop their prosecutions on day one and have them turned loose, those who have been indicted and held, including those at home awaiting their axe of Damocles to fall upon them. The second thing you can do is begin to commute sentences that were unjust and unfair. And there's 3 different types of pardons. We've done a very thorough job for President Trump. J6pardonproject.com. You can't even, it's so easy. J6pardonproject.com. Suzanne Monk, Tricia Hope, Penska, Tamara Lee, they have researched all the pardons of innocence, including the ones for General Flynn and Stone, those folks, and they've crafted a complete blueprint, including an entire database of all the J6ers, their charges, violent, nonviolent, being held, trial, pretrial, over sentence. Everything's all written down. Everything's database. We are waiting for day one when he can begin to move against that. But on day one, not everybody's going home. And I think it's unrealistic to expect that. I think you could realistically be looking at 30, 40 days before all of them are gone through the process. The ones that with violent charges, obviously the most problematic. You need to see, was it really violence or was it once again overcharging, or a police officer flailed and hit this guy on the head and he gets charged for the felony instead of the police officer having, not been in control of himself.
Well, the whole thing is so wrong, and it's so obvious that it's so wrong. And so questions that I have in my mind, I think the symbols that stick with me from J6 are Ray Epps, Ashley Babbitt, and the pipe bombs. So talk to us about it. Who is Ray Epps? Have you ever encountered him? Have you made any attempt to contact Ray Epps? Has anybody?
I haven't, but many of our community have, and he's a very, very shy person. He takes off like a rabbit if you come near him. I think there's problematic about Ray Epps, and he had an entire cadre of people with him, and their actions are very clearly demonstrated. Again, J6, a true timeline. Folks, if you ever had any questions, I mean any questions about what happened on J6, this movie shows you things happening all simultaneously on the same time frame. So you understand, where was President Trump when the violence was already taking place at the Capitol? What was going, you see all these things finally put together in a timeline that lets you see the entire event as it plays. And you can find, it's free. We don't charge you for it. Go to open.inc/J6, open.inc/J6, put together by David Sumrall and a whole bunch of other filmmakers who all contributed to it. The list is long, and they're all heroes in my book. It is, Tucker Carlson said it's the one movie that every American should watch. And I think that's a pretty good endorsement.
Well, we're going to put that up for our live stream. We're talking to Tim Rivers, who founded J6PatriotNews.com. It was an outcrop of the January 6th fiasco that happened in our nation's capital on January the 6th, 2021, right after the election was stolen from Donald Trump. And we're coming to you today on the John Fredericks Media Network in Memphis, Nashville, Atlanta, Richmond, Norfolk, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and Morgantown, West Virginia. We also come to you on YouTube Live, Getter, Rumble, and X. So please go to those channels, subscribe if you will. I was surprised to learn that one of our listeners thought that she had to pay in order to subscribe. You don't. It's all free. And if you will subscribe, we'll put your name in a raffle for a Donald Trump MAGA hat signed by Rudolph Giuliani. But in order to get it, you have to email me at johngordontruth@gmail.com. All right, Tim. So I'm going to watch open.inc/J6 tonight, because I don't have anything planned, and that sounds like a great way to spend an evening. I haven't
It's
had
going to
any...
melt your socks. I'm just going to tell you right now, your socks are just going to melt.
Well, I was going to tell you, I haven't had any alcohol
in
in 90 days, and that may get me back to drinking. I don't know, but I'm going to watch it. So Ray Epps, he was a provocateur. Anybody with a brain and two eyes that cared to watch can tell that he was there to stoke the crowd up. The thing I don't understand is why we have the House of Representatives, we have the Judiciary Committee, the Oversight Committee. Why have we not subpoenaed Ray Epps and his bank records and his tax return to find out who was paying him in or around before or after January the 6th, 2021. It seems pretty obvious and pretty easy to me. Why are we protecting him, and who else are we protecting in the process?
Well, I think that's a pretty obvious statement there. I mean, I don't have a problem jumping to that conclusion. Ray Epps is a provocateur. He was either there at the behest of a third party, and I don't know whether that's a governmental agency, a deep state agency, the Democratic Party. I have no idea. But he wasn't alone. There were Antifa and BLM on premise. We have video of Antifa people changing into Trump gear and changing out of Trump gear. I have testimonies from multiple J6ers who were escorted through the Senate tunnel on the way out of the building under arrest and found literally long lines of black bloc clothing inside the restricted tunnel. Where did that come from? How did they get? There are so many questions that will be answered when you finally rip back the curtain. And I think the J6 Unselect Committee should basically be found criminally negligent for what they've done, if not true obstruction of justice. I think.
Oh, I don't. I disagree with you.
Way.
I don't think there was any negligence. I don't think there's any excuse. I think it was a deliberate affront to our democratic process. I don't wish ill on other people, but When you do something that undermines the country in which we all live and are blessed to live here, and you do something as egregious as Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger and the other members of the J6 committee, it was a made-for-television hearing, and it was illegally constituted. Nancy Pelosi did not follow the rules of the House of Representatives. The minority leader was not allowed to put his people on the committee. It was an illegitimate committee to cover up and come up with this false narrative about an affront to our political process. If you can't tell, it makes me mad as hell. And I don't want retribution. I want accountability. I want people who have broken the law to pay for it. That's what I want.
Right, real justice. And herein comes the quandary of the Pardon Project, right? Because many people think, well, there were some people in there who did bad stuff. Yes, actually, there are Antifa and BLM in jail for January 6th. Guess what? We're going to pardon them. Why? Because the entire thing was a setup. Anybody who was denied due process, anybody who was, by the way, in the DC court, when you go as a January 6er, you're not allowed to use the First Amendment as a defense. You're not allowed to use any of your constitutional protections in that court when you try to show exculpatory move or exculpatory evidence. And that in alone is just shows that, makes a sham of this, of the statement over the Supreme Court building that says equal justice under law. And so all of this happens, these provocateurs, they all will pay, but they have to pay correctly, John. You have to charge them with real charges, not made up ones. You have to provide real evidence, not doctored videos. You have to do it right.
Well, I'm all in favor of that. I mean, I believe in the rule of law, and I would certainly never encourage, and I'm not suggesting in any way, that we do what the Democrats do and resort to lawfare. But what these people have done is a lie of mammoth proportion to the American people, and they have desecrated hundreds of lives and tarnished the image of another 700 people. Now, if people went there with the intent to do damage, to actually do violence, they should be held accountable.
I've yet to find one person who went there with that. Please, for gosh sakes, go listen to my interviews with these people, because I always ask them the same question, John. Why did you go that day? I get everything from God told me I needed to be there to I went to listen to my president because he was the most patriotic president I had ever heard, and I wanted to hear his last speech, to I wanted to have my voice heard by Congress. I had nobody say, I went to overthrow the government. And if you did, you were pretty stupid to come with hats and flags. You should have brought guns and ammo.
Yeah, exactly. How about Brandon Fellows? Are you familiar with him?
Brandon's my buddy. He and I have communicated since he was in the DC gulag. He's free now. He and I do communicate. In fact, I just got a request from another individual, John, to have him give him a call through the grapevine here at Core Links. But some of these people are trying to regain their lives. It's very difficult. John's case, he can't get a good job because they branded him as a violent felon. So even though he was not convicted of a violent felony, in his documents that they pull up, it says he was convicted of a violent felony, and he wasn't. And these are the kind of things that have continued to ruin these people's lives and make their recovery and restoration of their civic lives impossible. And we want to fix that. We want to fix that with the pardon.
I think these assistant U.S. attorneys that have been called to do this terrible harm to our country and our First Amendment rights serve at the pleasure of the President of the United States. It is my hope that Matt Gaetz will go there as Attorney General, and on the first day, he will fire them from their jobs. That will then stop the prosecutions and can be part of a process to get these people freed and their names back. But so for our listeners, Brandon Fellows, I think he's like 24, 25 years old, maybe.
He's a young guy, and he's going to be a daddy.
And he went to the Capitol on January the 6th, and he just he walked in and he went to the Hall of Statues, where he went through and basically conducted himself on a self-led tour of
Yep.
a mini
And
tour
very,
of the
very
Capitol.
nonviolent, didn't break anything, didn't take anything.
He left without commotion. He left voluntarily. Nobody told him to leave. He harmed no one or no property. Yet they convicted him of participating in an insurrection. He spent 3 years in 3 different jails in the Washington, D.C. area. Now, Brandon Fellows is also the guy. There's a picture of him for our live stream.
Yep. This is from our book, Letters from Prison, which was the first 190 days in the DC jail for all of the J6 people. This is what this book is about. It's all of their letters and their artwork.
Brandon Fellows gets released from jail, and what does he do? He goes to a hearing at the Capitol before the committee that is in questioning Anthony Fauci. And Brandon sat behind Fauci and made these faces when Fauci would start spewing lies, and it, in effect was mocking him. He became a celebrity in social media and my hero. I sent him $500 just for his criminal defense fund. He is a jovial person that is instantly likable, who doesn't seem to have a mean bone in his body. And in interviews and commentaries that I've read about him since being released from prison, he's not bitter. Doesn't have a chip on his shoulder. He smiles, he's gregarious. And it just, to me, highlights the sheer evilness of what these people have done. They don't care about the destruction of their fellow human beings. They only care about their own lust for power.
I kind of disagree there. I think they do care. I think they care that they want to destroy these people. I mean, completely. It's gone beyond any Trump derangement syndrome. It's the lefty syndrome that anything that is authoritarian, that questions their ability to act out or to rape and pillage without result or accountability is scary to them, and it must be attacked and destroyed. Hell, they burned down entire cities because of this. I'm just thinking that when we move into this, I'm going to tell you, my expectation is a massive surgery on the federal government that will impact every American. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be easy. Surgery never is. But if you're literally with a life-threatening disease and you don't cut that cancer out, you're going to die from it. And I truly believe that's what's going to have to happen. We have agencies, bureaucracies that have entrenched themselves to the point of being not answerable to government. How could the Department of Defense fail their audits like 20-something years in a row and go, hey, we're getting better. We might get there by 2029. Really? Let me have your credit card. That's what I do with my kid. What do you do with agencies that have run amok like the FBI and the Department of Justice? How do you bring back the Department of Education into something that Americans will trust again? I don't think you can.
I don't want to bring it back. I want to cancel it.
Take it away. I think you're going to see a massive reduction in the size of the federal government, and it will be painful to some, but it is necessary for us to stand on our own feet again and quit looking for the easy handout every day. Americans didn't do that when they formed this country, and we've gotten damn lazy.
So Michael Byrd is a Capitol Hill police officer. I don't know how big he is. He looks to me to be 6 feet, 6'1", maybe even 6'2". He looks like he's out of shape. He's overweight. He looks like he's 230. And Ashley Babbitt is a young lady who I believe was from California or Texas. California. And she goes to the Capitol. She's among the protesters. Somehow, in videos, she is actually discouraging people from breaching the Capitol. She's encouraging them back. Somehow she gets lifted up, and I'm not sure why or how, but she appears to be starting to crawl through a window into the speaker's lobby of the nation's Capitol. Ashley Babbitt, 5'2", 5'3", unarmed. Michael Byrd, out of the shadows, draws a pistol, shoots and kills her in cold blood. Damn him, and damn the people who have enabled him.
You're going to see that on timeline. I'm going to tell you, it's really hard to watch. Those of us who know Nikki.
I've watched it so many times, it just turns my stomach, and it makes me so angry. I am beside myself over it. And his punishment was to be promoted in the Capitol Hill Police Department.
Not only that, they secreted him away on a U.S. military base because they were afraid, he was afraid for his life, and justly so. I will tell you that those are the people we want to see justice for. The officers, we've identified all of the officers through body cam who started that riot, every single one of them. And they're all going to have to be accountable for their actions. They went beyond the pale, not only of their protocols and policies, but of their actual authority. And it didn't work in Nuremberg, folks. It ain't going to work here. I don't want to hear you were just doing your job when you attacked a 73-year-old woman with a baton, sprayed her in the face with bear mace, and then knocked her down a flight of concrete steps because she was standing in front of you with her hands clasped in prayer. There is no excuse for that, and you must be held accountable. That's why they call me Furious Tim. I just can't talk about this stuff, John, without getting, like you,
I'm
just
there
aggravated.
with you, Tim. You've lived and breathed it every day. And you can tell I've got a lot of pent-up angst and frustration over this. And I have great sorrow for the victims. But on a broader scale, I'm worried about this being able to occur in the United States of America, where people within our government have weaponized government against people who were there to peacefully protest. Meanwhile, we're letting people with the Black Lives Matter movement torch and burn down federal buildings, and they get a complete free pass.
You know what happened here? We've allowed this erasure of our history to really take root the last 10 or 15 years. And it is truism. Those who fail to study and remember history are doomed to repeat it. And that's one of the reasons that we took all these letters from these prisoners who were tested. Listen, you can't get any closer to the truth than first-person testimony. The person who was there, not the person who heard it from another person, or the person who witnessed it from the person who was actually involved in the event, their first-person testimony. That is as close to truth as you're ever going to get. And the letters that started coming into J6 Patriot News from other people who are writing prisoners like I was, I started publishing my letters from Jeff and other people. People read them and go, gosh, you know, my guy said the same thing. And they started sending me their letters, and we were flooded, John. We were beginning to bury J6 Patriot News in letters. And really, there were so many other things that it does. We track the prisoners. We keep maps of the prisons. There's so much we do on that website. Marie Goodman, my partner, is just an amazing person. And the team of people that have come out to help us track these prisoners, get a hold of their families. And I mean, it's just an amazing group. But from that clutch of letters, people began to say, you know, you got to do more than just put them on Telegram. I mean, these things are these are dynamite. These people are telling you what really happened. They're describing what's going on in the court system, the corruption, the lies, the, disturbing of the truth by these letters have to get out. And so we said, okay, fine. Marie and I got together and put 1 year's worth of letters together. It actually picks up somewhere around June of 2021, when they've already been in the gulag for 5 or 6 months, and it goes all the way up to October of 22. And you hear firsthand testimony of the horror shows in this prison, including Brandon Fellows, who smuggles videos out of black water coming out and mold coming through the ceiling. Their art and all their work is in here. Look at that beautiful picture of Trump. That picture was drawn by an individual who was denied art supplies. So he stored his coffee in his window till it turned to sludge. He took his M&Ms from the commissary, crushed up the candy colors and mixed them with water, and he drew that picture. And I got 3 others. They're just incredible.
So what book were you just holding up there? What is that?
This is the first book of the American Gulag Chronicles, Letters from Prison. This is what I do. I'm the voice of J6 when I can be. I take their letters and I publish them on our website. And this was the first book. The second year, this book is so much thicker. Why? Well, because these guys are all across the country now. They're in prisons everywhere. This second book is called The Art of Confinement. And it takes you now into their phases of almost trying to teach you how to survive tyranny. The book is I break it into lessons because that's what the letters felt like. They felt like they were trying to educate the American people. This can happen to me. It can happen to you. These are the things that you must do to preserve your liberty and your freedom and to free us. And so these books are important. And as I said, I'm contemplating that the third book will be called Freedom Rings and will take us through the releases and the pardons. All the money from the books. All the money from the books goes to J6ers, by the way. I don't make a penny.
Where can I buy
And
a
have never
copy
taken-
of the American Gulag Chronicles and the Art of Confinement?
Lettersfromprison.us. Very easy to remember. Or you can get it right off our website at J6 News, but lettersfromprison.us. The books have a symbolic price. I want you to remember that you're not buying the book. You're contributing $45 to the fight. You're becoming part of my Gulag army, and you're preserving a piece of history that many people would like to see disappear. So the books are $45, or you can buy both of them for $80, and we'll send them to you. If you use promo code Tamara from my Tamara Scott show that I do Freedom Fridays, you'll get free shipping too. So I ask people to keep these books. They're coffee table books. They're beautifully illustrated and very nicely done. Full high color quality ink and paper. They're meant to be a piece of history. They're in the Library of Congress. We will not forget these slights that have been done against the Constitution and the American public. And it's only through recording these things for history that the next generation can avoid the pitfalls that we seem to have missed.
Well, Tim, if I'm going to send you a check tonight I'll go on the website and pay online for $250, I want 2 copies times 3. And for all of our listeners on John Gordon Truth, if you will email me, johngordontruth@gmail.com, the first 4 people that email me, I will send you a free copy of one of the books, The American Gulag Chronicles or The Art of Confinement. You can get it free. I'll send it to you. And I would love to help spread the word. That's a little bit that I can do. And I will keep 2 for my own edification. And I will enjoy looking at them. And when I do, I will think of you fondly, Tim Rivers, and all of the people, the army that you've assembled to help keep us free. I do want to say something to you and all of our listeners. In the days and weeks leading up to the presidential election that fortunately Donald J. Trump won, I was very vocal, and we had guests on the program. We beat a very familiar drum by the time the election rolled around, that it was time for Christians in America to get up off the sofa and go to the polls and vote. And especially the people that were in swing states. And I don't take any credit, but I give you all the credit for the Christians, evangelicals, Catholics, Jews, other people who decided that for the first time to vote in a long time. You made a difference. You especially made a difference in Pennsylvania. Do you know how many Amish people there are in Pennsylvania by any chance, Tim?
No, but I know there's a lot.
200,000. Do you know how many people voted in 2020? How many Amish people?
I thought none. They weren't really involved in
3,000. Do you know how many Amish people voted in Pennsylvania 3 weeks ago?
I bet it's overwhelming.
90,000, almost half the Amish population. Christians, Jews alike went to the polls. You saved our country. Now, I've got a warning for all of you.
It's not over.
It is just begun. The amount of evil that is present in our federal government, as evidenced by Tim Rivers' testimony to us and witnessing today about the J6 prosecution of people who violated no laws. Hundreds were invited into the Capitol by the Capitol Hill police. Those very people have been charged with trespass and participating in an insurrection. It is as wrong can be. You've got to write letters. You've got to write letters to the editor of your local paper. You have got to call talk radio. Hell, you can call me right now, 804-778-8888. I'll take your calls, and we'll talk about J6, Tim Rivers, and the new freedom that we have restored in our country. But the fight has just begun. Write your congressman. Write anybody who will listen and tell them, free the J6 political prisoners. We demand justice. Thank you, Tim Rivers. It's been a pleasure having you on, and I welcome you back to the truth anytime that you'd like to come and share your latest information with us.
I always tell everybody there's something for everyone, so don't do nothing.
Here's how you can get your Donald Trump MAGA hat signed by Rudy Giuliani. I want you to know how grateful I am to each one of our listeners and viewers of our live stream. We really don't take this airtime for granted. It is such an honor and a privilege to be able to come to you each week with our insights into the news of the day. As I'm fond of saying, we watch the news so you don't have to. We also would like to encourage our radio listeners to go to rumble.com, youtube.com, and getter.com, search for John Gordon Truth, and subscribe to our channel. That little act of kindness on your part would go so far because it would help us expand our reach. And for a limited time only, if you will subscribe to our channel and then email me at johngordontruth@gmail.com, we will put you in a raffle for this once-in-a-lifetime Trump hat signed by none other than Rudy Giuliani.
Wow.
And that's the truth, and thank you for your consideration. It's time for a cleansing of America. It's time that we get this country back to a standard of truthfulness, ethics, and morality. And I think we're going to get there. I think it's going to be messy, and I think they're going to fight dirty. But we're smart enough to realize that we made a mistake. We're not going to let it happen again. Let's get it back, folks. We're on the way. And Tim Rivers, he has been an American hero. For the last 4 years, he has fought for the unnamed men and women who are the victims of the J6 Commission and the corrupted Department of Justice, who have indicted over 1,000 people and landed 300 of them in jail, and hundreds have been rotting in jail for as long as 3 years without even being indicted. This is the United States of America. This cannot happen in our country. Damn the people that have done this. And Tim Rivers has been fighting, and he's going to get him. He's going to help right this wrong, and so is Donald Trump. And as Tim is going to tell us, it's going to take work. And if you haven't subscribed to The Truth, you can do your civic duty and go there and do that right now on YouTube, Getter, Rumble, and X. Come join us. I'd be so grateful. And we'll keep bringing you good programming every Saturday.